So hi everybody, thank you for joining me today, and it's wonderful to see you all. Thank you so much for supporting me and being with me. It really makes a huge difference for me that you all are part of my life. So I'm doing the 50-50 show, and I went down to Ross's Cove yesterday, and there was only one other person, or there were a few people down on the beach. It's very deserted. I haven't been down there in about 5 years, and the trees had all grown. They were different, and it just was really fun to be down there.
Where is it?
Ross's Cove. Do you know where Mezzaluna is? That restaurant down in the harbor?
Yes.
If you keep going down that road and turn right, you'll end up at the radar station. On the road that goes to the radar station, there's a parking lot right at the base of that. And if you park there, you can it's just to the right. So you have to go up the hill to the radar station and take the trail down to the beach, or take the trail over and then down.
Oh, that's a steep trail. That's a really beautiful place to be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Ross's Cove.
So this is almost like looking out at Mavericks.
It is looking out at Mavericks.
Ah, now I know where you are.
Not just like it, but that's exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one that I have there. Let me pin this video and go over there. So good to see you. Come on. Unpin video. Now I want to pin this video. There we go. Okay. So I want to show you the treasures I found.
I don't see a video.
You don't see a video?
I don't know. I just see you right now.
Well,
Did anyone else, everyone else see the video?
I have it. It does say I'm having trouble where I live with the.
So I have two screens going. One says Mary Kay Jolly, and one says Mary Kay's iPhone. And that's the one. If you click on that,
Where?
Mary Kay's iPhone in video.
And then you pin it.
if you pin that, then that one will become big.
Mm-hmm. And it did.
You hit the three dots on the right.
Where are the three dots again?
They're at the right of Mary Kay's iPhone.
Hover your cursor over the picture and you'll see three dots.
I say Mary Kay's personal. Now say that again. Oops, I lost it again.
Do you see the palette and the sea glass on the?
Oh gosh. Why don't you just go ahead, and I've just lost everything just now.
Because we don't want to go without you. We want you to be in on it.
Well,
That's why people sent me money, and we pay. It's all paid for, so we wouldn't have to rush. Shit. And I do thank those anonymous people.
Well, I'm going to go way out again, I guess. No, there you are.
Okay, now you see me. Do you see the palette?
No, I see you.
I see the palette to the right on a table.
Yeah, the palette's on the right on a table. My hand is there now. Woohoo!
I think she's not in the right Mary Kay square.
Marlene, you see me. Are you on a computer?
Yes.
Do you have people at the top of the computer, including me?
No, you're in the middle.
Okay.
Same.
Are there people at the top?
Yes.
Is there a blue arrow at the top?
Yes.
Click on that.
Okay.
And now is one of the screens my palette with sea glass?
Yes.
Okay, click on that one.
It says chat or pin video.
Pin video.
Gotcha.
All right. See? We can.
Thank you.
We're all getting so good at
Women rule.
Anyway, I found all those little things last year in the 50-50, which I didn't get into. I was going to glue things on my painting, so I'm thinking I might glue some of those little pieces. Anyway, there's lots of cool stuff at Ross's Cove. So this is looking at Mavericks. Mavericks, when it's breaking, is right there. Right there. So this is the one I painted yesterday. And then I went into it because it was liney. I painted that one this morning very fast. So that's that one. And then this is kind of the other way in Ross's Cove. That's looking north. And then this is the picture of the one that several of you said that you wanted to paint of these three. And you can see there was no splash, but I put it in. And what I really liked about this was the green on the rocks and all this red kelp on the beach. I really like that part. So add a little splash and then it suddenly becomes kind of a, more interesting painting. So that's what I'm gonna work on is this painting. Right there where I can see it. And you guys can see all of this. Okay, so I'm going to take my water-soluble pencil and I'm gonna sketch in my horizon line. It's about a quarter of the way up. Later on, I might use a piece of tape. Now in the picture, the rocks don't go much over the horizon line, but it is a lot better if one of the rocks that you put in there comes up over that horizon line. So I just not. And then this one here is over that one and down. And then there's a third one right here. And it's a loaf of bread. Those are really 2 loaves of bread, but I'll try not to make them look too loafy. Then when I paint that splash in, on this one here this morning, I went in and I put another rock in because my splash was too far from this rock. So I put an extra rock in this morning. I could send you pictures of both of those on the email so that you can see how I changed it. And then I'm just going to put my surf in. I'm gonna pretend that it's here, and this is that shape, that C, elongated C shape right there. And then I'm gonna put in a couple other lines and then the wet surf, and then that gives me all this room to play with the sand and put all that in. So in the photograph, what I did was I changed, I'm gonna get a darker pen. I changed this line right here and just kind of went like that. So I could have a little, the beach kind of curves into those rocks.
Much better.
So that was the change I made when I drew it just now. All right, so I'm gonna start with the sky and I'll leave this right here. I'll put some splash in right there. Now, one of the things that we have to do for the 50-50 show is write an artist statement. And I think the artist statement this year should be that the way to paint Half Moon Bay skies is to mix French ultramarine blue and burnt sienna to make gray. It has been so gray this summer. So I just wet the sky with my brush. I went around the little rock. Here's my French ultramarine blue. Here's my burnt sienna. I just add a little bit more till I get the gray that I want for that day. And make it there, that's pretty good. Start at the top. And make it a little bit softer as it comes down, or maybe not. Then I want to make some splash right in here. So I can take a little piece of paper towel. See how it works? I can add a little water. That's another way to make a splash. And you can always add a little salt. That's a big splash. That's what I always do. I always make them so big that I have to start putting in more rocks to get the splash. Okay, so there's some splash. I don't want to start painting in the rocks now because if I do that, rocks will bleed into the sky. I don't want that. So I'll start by just putting in my ocean. It's the same color as the sky. And notice that I'm painting it with horizontal brush strokes. And I'm gonna leave white next to a little wet spot right there. I'm leaving a little white at the base of those. I'm not putting in the horizon line. That's my first layer. It's very dark right in here next to the surf. So I'm gonna just add more French and more burnt sienna. And I've been really good about not using the sepia. Because if I make my own sepia like this, I can lift it off. And I often want to kind of move things. I like how it's sort of making blooms there. I'm trying to keep it a little irregular. At the edge where the surf is, where it hits the white. So that's a little irregular. I like that there's a little white spot showing. I like that it's granulating. What I'm gonna do now is try to make some green, because there was a lot of green yesterday. It's not really showing up, but I also need some green in the ocean if there's some green on the rocks. I have to have those same colors. So I'm hesitating right now because I'm trying to remember how I made that green. I used manganese and burnt sienna.
What is it, Antwerp?
It was manganese blue.
Manganese.
My cerulean is right there where I'm pointing with my pencil, and my manganese is right there. The manganese is a little bit opaque. Now I'm going to try some quinacridone gold and see what happens.
Ooh.
So it was manganese blue and French ultramarine blue and a little bit of quinacridone gold, which I know some of you don't have. Now I'm just going to put some of those lines in. So the ocean's changing colors as it comes down. And we know that it does that because we all live here, so we see that all the time, how it changes. see something in this picture here. Well, I'll just wing it. You guys probably don't like it when I wing it. It's harder for you to follow along. Okay, I'll draw it in. Looking for mine. It is. So I see in this, the picture that I drew yesterday, that this part right here goes out the side. So I'm going to just make this rock kind of go out the side here. And now I have a little area for some greens and my ocean color back there. It'll show up in there and there. So I just want to put some of those same colors right in here now. I'm just going to stop and keep it pretty loose right there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to wet my sand, get my dry sand in. So I'm wetting the paper where the dry sand goes. And I've been having so much fun putting in dry sand with this little spot in my palette right here. And those two colors are the gold. There's a gold. I can't remember the name of the gold. It is called, see, this is where I wish we were together because I could just give you guys all a squirt of these colors. It's called iridescent gold. And then right next to it, I have raw sienna. So right there. And I've been having so much fun just putting my brush, and usually I'm down on the beach, there's sand everywhere. I just rub it on both sides in there and I'm getting this color. And that's my first layer.
Iridescent gold, and what was the other color, Mary Kay?
Raw sienna.
Thank you.
And I know it's not, the sand is a little warmer, but I can put some colors. I just think that little sparkly stuff is, I don't know, it's just, I don't, for some reason, it's just making me happy. It's tickling my fancy. And while this is wet, I'm gonna sign it. And I can just take a little bit of burnt sienna now and put it over that. So it's just kind of a gold yellow mess right there, but we're gonna add things to it and make it better. There's a nice layer of wet sand right in here. So that, the way I usually paint that is I put down some burnt sienna. Trying to leave white between the blue and the burnt sienna here. I'm kind of scrubbing this to get rid of that water-soluble graphite pencil. And then I put my homemade sepia, which is French ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. Because I made that, that was the color of the water. I'm just going to put that over the burnt sienna. And that makes it look like, usually it makes it look like wet sand. And it's usually nice and dark right next to the surf. I got a watermark going in here because I had more water in my brush than I had on the paper. I'm just going to see what it does. That's my start. The next thing I'm going to do is start painting the rocks. And I'm going to start with that green. This green here and a little here and a little here, and I threw a little bit down here and a little bit in the water. So that green, I think I made that green with Antwerp and Bumblebee. Maybe a little more Bumblebee. You also could just use, that's green. You could also just use Grumbacher Phthalo Yellow Green. That's easiest, really, just to use that. There. Wow. That's a little too bright, even for me. So I'll put a little bit of my, there we go, that's good. So Grumbacher Phthalo Yellow Green and a little bit of the ocean color. And I'm just gonna put that at the top of those, top of the rocks, because it's it's that algae, that bright green algae. So if I have some on the top of this rock, I'll put a little bit over here too. I want it on all the rocks, and it won't hurt to even just put a couple flicks down here. And in the water even, just so we have that same color everywhere. Can you see what my splash did?
Mm-hmm.
It just made a perfect Vesuvius. It doesn't look like a splash at all. So I'm gonna work on that a little bit. So I really cleaned my brush out because I don't want to have a green splash. So I'm gonna just add a little more water here. I'm scrubbing with the top of my brush. And now I'll take my paper towel and see if I can, not really. I might just have to have a volcano back there instead of a splash. Ah, I got green everywhere. Oh boy, okay. It's time to get serious now. So I have something that I call a mother's kiss. It's this brush right here. It's a Fritsch scrub. This is a size 12. It's a Cheap Joe's brand. It's just an old oil painting brush that they trimmed, and now they sell it. We used to just make our own. This is the scrubber. You can get rid of near everything. Oh, now I have not liking my splash. Well, we'll worry about that later again. Okay. Now my dark is my two favorite colors this summer, burnt sienna and French ultramarine blue, but isn't it amazing how many shades I can get from these two colors? Foggy skies, dark rocks, light rocks. I don't want to make the bottom of this rock perfectly flat because I want it to be like the water is kind of making splashes up against it. And over here, it's going to go up in the sky. And I left a little white line in between those two rocks because I either need to make the rock behind it much darker or lighter, so that, this is for you too, this Penny.
Yes.
So this is an example where I'm trying to make a form without making a line. So I want to make the rock in front look like it's in front, and the rock behind. And I have to do it one of two ways. I either have to make the rock behind lighter or the rock in front lighter. In the picture, you can see that the top of this rock is in the light and the bottom is dark. So I'm going to go with that direction. So I'm actually going to lift this one a little bit, so that the top of this rock has got some highlights. And now it's drying. Now I'm going to take that dark and go behind it. And that puts the rock behind the one in front. So it's a change of color that makes one shape turn into the other one. I'm just adding some other darks to make it more interesting there. I'm going to add just a little bit of water down at the bottom of this so I can not have a harsh edge, but soft edges. And it's not water solid, it's just once every so often. Now I'm going to put this back rock in here and see if I can't make it look like there's a splash. So again, my dark brown, burnt sienna and French ultramarine blue, it's the same two colors. After this summer, we're all just gonna be so good at mixing these two colors. They're such beautiful colors. The pigments are just amazing. So now I'm going to try and get this to look like there's a splash. So, that didn't do it. Need my scrubber. Might get my mother's kiss out again. Well, painting with just a thirsty brush here. I'm going to soften this. Now, really, I think the biggest problem with my splash is that my fog is not dark enough so that the splash is showing up. I think before I go in and mess with the sky, though, I'm going to let this all dry and put in that horizon line. So while that's drying, I'm going to put in this kelp. And the kelp color is let me see. I'm going to say that it's burnt sienna and French ultramarine blue and permanent rose. That is pretty close to a kelp color right there. The purpley brown color.
Say it again. Permanent rose and what else?
And our two colors for the summer, French ultramarine blue and burnt sienna.
So basically the rocks plus some
Rocks with permanent rose. All right, I'm using the belly of my brush here. And I'm just gonna, oh, I like it. I'm just making a mess. Because that's what it is, it's a stinky mess. When I took a stool down with me and I was sitting in the middle of this old dried out kelp and the flies were all over everything. They'd land on my hand and just dare me to swoosh them away. You can kind of smell it almost. And if you don't like any of the blobs, you can kind of, okay, this one I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do some flicking. I like that flicking. It's too much of it though. So then I can just smudge it with my finger a little bit. Maybe a little bit of kelp out there in the wet sand too. I feel like I've got a nice line there and a nice line there. So I need to break those up a little bit or change the shape a little bit. What I'm going to do now is add more French Ultra and burnt sienna to my red puddle, to my kelp color. And I'm going to try to I'm going to put some darks at the bottom of the kelp to show that the sun's shining on the top of it. And I can't have one color, just that solid color isn't going to work. So I'm going to try to change the shape a little bit also. So it's not two straight lines, but more random. Just want the feeling like there's a lot of kelp on the beach. There can be even some greens in that kelp because there was a lot of green also. So I'm going to try some Antwerp into my phthalo yellow green and put a little bit of that in my kelp too. Now the color is starting to get interesting. Now it's worth looking at. Need a little bit of that up here too, and these greens. Maybe in the ocean a little bit, right here. I'm just gonna put a little bit of the color I was just working in. I'm gonna just darken my corners here. I don't want my eye going out these two corners. And I think okay, I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. What I'm gonna do now is get a piece of tape and put my horizon line in. my sky's pretty dry. The rock is pretty dry. So I'm going to put this piece of tape straight across. I don't want any white showing, except where the splash is. And I'm going to measure it. It is 1 7/8. No. Oh, it's pretty close. So close. Side is just about a 32nd of an inch too high. That very first line that I drew was pretty straight. I'm going to press it down with my fingernail. This is why I don't wear fingernail polish, because when I press the tape down, I don't want to get fingernail polish on my paper. Now, yesterday the ocean, the horizon line was very dark sepia, so very dark blue. So French ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. Heavy on the French so that it has kind of a blue tinge to it. And then if I feel like I need a little green in that, I can just steal a little from over here. And then try some more. I'm going to try just a tiny bit of Antwerp in that puddle. Not really. Ah! I'm not getting it. I'm going to try again. Okay, I'm going to start with French ultramarine blue. And burnt sienna. A little more burnt sienna to that so that it's on the blue side. No, maybe I'll just go with that. Okay, here I go. So I'm going to just paint over the tape, but not the rocks. Pretty. Then I stop at the splash. Bring some of that color down so that it doesn't look like it's from a different planet, and see what it looks like. It looks pretty good on the computer screen, but I can see 2 mistakes up close. So I'm going to put this down so you can see the mistakes better. So can you see, I'm pointing to it, that I didn't make the tape go high enough. So I have a little white line right there and a little white line right there. And then I smudged that, but that's okay because I can just squish that up into the splash. So what am I going to do about that? Maybe I will just ignore it and it will just be like a bright light on the horizon. Okay. So the trick to the splash, don't mean to make you seasick here, is that you have the white going up, but then there is shadow in the splash. So when I accidentally got that little bit of blue there, I just took a thirsty brush, so a wet brush that I wiped on my paper towel, it's clean, and I just kind of brushed it up like that, like it's splashing. And it just really sort of made the splash all on its own. So I think I'm gonna just kind of leave that splash. Maybe I'll just fudge, I'm gonna soften this little spot right here. And just kind of call that splash good. So then looking at this, it's really starting to look fairly complete, except my white line here is just too white, and plus I can see all my pencil marks. So the surf needs to have shadow in it too. Or maybe some sand that's getting churned up in it. And there was a lot of sand getting churned up in that little surf. So that's just my dark sand color, which is,
Gold.
the dark sand is burnt sienna and French ultramarine blue with a little gold in it. Yeah. And I just want to, this is very dilute paint here. And I'm going to just use the belly of my brush and kind of just drop some spots in. And then I can either smudge it with my finger or paint with water, or both. Just so that solid white line is not, so it's broken up. And up to here too. What's going on right in there? I think it would. Smudge that, paint with water. I always tell Dee, if in doubt, paint with water.
Mhm.
Okay, I think I could stop.
Beauteous.
I think
Looks good.
Where's your name?
I signed it in right in the beginning when it was just yellow. So it's carved in there. Here, let me go in close.
Mine disappeared under the kelp.
Yeah, mine's kind of gone under the kelp, but it's definitely in there. Several people have told me recently that they get their painting done and they forgot to sign their name. So I'm not going to show you how to do that, to sign it later on this one, but I'm going to use something else to sign. Some other painting that I have here that is sort of an extra painting. Yeah, like this one. Okay, so here's a painting that I did of, I called it Pelican Perch. I'm going to pretend I forgot to sign my name. So I have this dry spot over here. What I do is I just take a little bit of kind of the same color, dilute, and wet it, or it's just putting a very light glaze on it. So now I've got my paper wet right in that spot. Now if I take my signer,
Hmm.
I'm pressing pretty hard. It sort of shows up, and then I take a little bit more paint over the top of that.
Oh, look at, like magic.
And
There it is.
yeah, it is, it's magic. So that's how you can sign your name if you forget. Now this one I didn't forget. It's just kind of hiding. And I guess I could just kind of smudge it and see if I can get some of it to show up better. I don't know if it's worth it. I kind of liked it hiding.
Now, you call that red kelp. I'm not seeing the red. Maybe it.
In the photograph, yeah, purple maybe might be better.
Okay.
Okay. I am going to go to our gallery. Did anybody paint? Penny painted. Let's see, Penny. Wow. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Just gorgeous. Almost kind of looks like a cliff coming in there.
Put
Hold it
down.
up again, please.
Yeah,
I
hold it up
didn't leave, I
again.
didn't leave enough wave.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Sure. It's too
Yeah.
skinny.
I like the splash on both rocks.
Yeah, they
That's
came
nice.
out okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. And I like how you put all those colors are kind of everywhere. So the phthalo yellow green's in several spots and the purple is in several spots. Of course, the indigo is really nicely done. It's loose and it captures the feel of it. And the painting is beautiful.
No lines.
You did a good job, Penny.
As always.
Who else? Anybody else? Oh, Vicky,
Hey, Vicky.
look at you.
That's
Beautiful. I know exactly where that is.
Nice.
Beautiful. And nice work on your colors, using that French ultramarine blue to make it really have that feel of the water with the greens. Yeah, the one thing I think you can do is just take a little bit of that French ultramarine blue from your ocean and put a shadow in your splash.
Mm.
Because the splash is purely white. So take, you want to, here, let me show you my two. I'm going to pin this one again and make it big. So
So do you wet it?
in this one that I just painted, see the splash is not purely white. There's a little bit of brown and a little bit of blue in there near the rocks, and then I kind of squish it up. And then let me show you this one. This one has a little bit of shadow too. And it's partly because there's some paint from the rock that I scrubbed out, but I also put in a little bit of a shadow. And that really makes the splash look like a splash.
Mm-hmm.
It's very pale paint, and you use the belly of your brush and squish it up.
And the sky being a little different, it shows up more.
It's better if the sky's a little darker. That was my first mistake. Dee, are you there?
I am. Did I paint? Yes, I painted. I'm not sure about this, but I'll hold it up. I'm working on it.
What is she?
I think it's all.
We see a flower, the top of a sunflower.
You do?
Yeah.
How funny. Oh, that's because this is turned around. Okay. Sorry. I'll, oh, well, here. I'll do it this way. Can you see it now?
Push it a little bit farther away. And go to your left. And down. And down more. And more down. Okay, stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
beautiful
I'm
color.
working on it.
Yeah.
I put
Actually,
sand in.
I like the horizon with a little bit of light at the top of it.
Yeah. I put sand in the kelp because it was just too blobby.
Yeah.
I mean salt. I put salt on the kelp. But
Oh, good,
anyway.
good. And then Dee, that part of your C where the
Mhm.
where the surf is,
Mhm.
it's too round. It needs to be more pointed.
Okay.
Do you know which part I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yep, I do.
Okay.
I see it.
so, yeah.
I will
Part
fix
of your
it.
C.
Okay. Thank you.
Nina, did you paint?
I did, yes. Let's see.
Look at those colors.
Ooh,
Pretty.
nice.
Yes.
I just have a terrible time with the water, though. It just doesn't look like water to me.
Yeah. Mine is kind of.
Two things that might help you with that. One is the same thing I just told till D, and that's that you have that C. Your C in front of that big first rock, you have gray sand right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pin mine so you can see the difference. So look at the shape of that C. It's a backward C, but do you see how round it is?
Yes.
It needs to be skinnier. So I'm gonna get a piece of paper
Mhm.
and go back over to this thing here. Okay, so this shape here is very skinny right here, and then comes down this way. You can see it again. So in your painting,
Oh,
Nina, you have this round, right here is round.
right.
So if you change this shape so that it's a long C,
Right here.
show me. Yes,
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay. So I can cut it in here. maybe?
right. And also what your shape is, here, I'll just draw it on this. Your shape is like this. Do you see how oh, you can't see that very well. Let me try that again. I'm gonna go here.
No, I can see that. That's good.
10. Okay, so the black line there is the shape of the ocean, and the shape that you have right now is that line that I just drew, and I'm going to erase it and draw it again. So the shape of yours right now is like that. So it needs to be skinnier up here. So it needs to elongate up here and flatten here.
Kind of like a duckbill.
Yeah, like a duckbill.
Okay.
So not round, but like, yeah, a duckbill. Did you get that from a YouTube video, Penny?
No, it just
Got
looks
it.
like a duckbill.
It does look like a duckbill. It's exactly
Yeah.
what it looks like. That's good. And then, Nina, I think you can darken your water, but it always has to be horizontal strokes that you're darkening your water, especially next to the surf. So in this picture that is pinned right now, you can see that it's dark. The water's dark, pretty dark right in here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, you can see that these color changes are very horizontal. Sure, they're not straight all the way across, but where they are straight, they're little areas like that. So that's the feel that you want to get. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, very helpful. Thank you.
Terry, you're going to paint later.
Mhm.
Arlene, same.
I'm going to paint later, yes.
And Elaine?
Same.
Okay.
Like it.
Do you have any more questions?
I do better with the YouTube because then I can pause it.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
I'm glad that, well, I think Laura's, she didn't turn off her video, but she had to leave. So all because of Laura teaching me how to use Zoom, or not Zoom, Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom was how I lost weight. Zoom is how I teach art.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Mary Kay.
You want me to take another look at it, Vicki? Yep. Very good. And then right in that white around the rock with the splash, you can put in some shadow into that part of your white surf also. And I think that'll help too. Now that you fix that, you can fix the white, and you can just do it with a damp brush. Just sort of smudge the edges by the rocks.
Okay.
I'm going to leave. Thanks, Mary
Okay,
Kay.
Elaine, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mary Kay.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Awesome.
You're
as
welcome. Does anybody else have any more questions or want me to look again? No? Okay.
No.
All right, everybody.
Great.
Great to
job,
see your
guys.
beautiful faces.
And yours.
always.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Mary Kay. Thank you.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.